Tito, one of the things that jumped out to me right before the Guards Fest, I thought he looked as, and this is silly, but he looked as good at the Guards Fest as I've seen him maybe in 5 years. He looked refreshed.
Yep.
He looked healthy. He's not dealing with these hips and feet and all this craziness that he. And I think that is a precursor to even more success this year because we're going to have all of him. He's not going to be preoccupied with this, that, and the other. I'm going to make a statement, and I'll ask one of you guys to disagree with me. Terry Francona is, by a pretty good margin, the best manager in baseball right now. Am I wrong?
I don't think so.
No.
There's nobody else coming to mind.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think Terry obviously gets the most out of a roster, right? Like he's
which
always,
is his job. That's the job of the manager.
He instills a confidence and a belief in these guys. He empowers these guys to give him their best.
Is that his secret sauce?
I think so.
What you just said, because that's what I've always thought it was.
Yeah, I think so. Because managers in baseball, it's so much different. Like you're not drawing up a play. You're not calling a play like you are in football. You know, you're not setting a defense. You're not calling an offensive play. You're not drawing up an ATO like you are in basketball. It's more of an even hand. It's more of a understanding the grind of a 162-game season. It's being able to manage a veteran team and a young team. He's done both. He's had both. Yeah. And it's being able to keep a hand on the ship for 6 months. And it's just so much different. And sure, it's maybe it's calling a pitch out at the right time, or maybe it's putting on a wheel play at the absolute perfect time. But there's very little of that, and it's much more macro than in the micro, I think. And knowing when to make a pitching change, all that's obviously important. But it's having belief in guys. It's having belief and leaving a starter out there to get out of a mess that he's in. It's knowing when to go get a reliever, and it's just believing in these guys. And it's the ability to maximize what they have and get the most out of them. Is another manager going to get the most out of Oscar Gonzalez and Stephen Kwan the way that Terry did? I don't think so. I just think it's just his nature, it's his personality that brings the best out of these guys.
I mean, you look at that list of all-time wins. Dusty Baker's a great manager.
Those are career active guys, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I know. Dusty Baker's a great manager. He's highly underrated. People were critical of him because he hadn't won a World Series until last year. But like Dusty Baker, everywhere he goes, their team wins. Everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's been on a lot of teams. Bruce Bochy, another great manager.
That's why it's so stunning that this was the first time he'd ever won a World Series.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I want to say that Terry Francona is like head and shoulders better than those guys. I didn't
say head and shoulders, but I don't think it's like 1 and 1A.
I think it's really close. I'll tell you another guy who I think is a great manager. I would take Francona 1. I think both those guys are great managers. The guy who's not in that list actually worked for Tito, is a great manager. That's Kevin Cash.
He's not on that list only because he hasn't been around long enough.
He's done a magnificent job.
He's in the top 5, maybe top 3 for me.
Kevin is the new era analytics-driven manager.
Yeah.
Terry, I think, is a blend of both. Terry is
why I
old
like
school.
Terry so much.
Terry is very much an old-school baseball guy. He gets to the stadium at noon and walks around in his boxers and reads the paper and drinks his coffee and wanders around in sandals. Like, he didn't know what to do. He is as old school as they come. But I think he's open to some of the new metrics and the new way of
he's
thinking.
embraced it. Otherwise, he would have been gone.
Yeah. He's adjusted. He has a great relationship with Chernoff and Antonetti, who are obviously all in on analytics.
Yes.
He has adjusted. I mean, there's been flaws in his game. Some he's improved on. He, at times, has not done a great job with the bullpen. I think he made mistakes in the World Series. So did Joe Madden, another great manager. Both made some key mistakes in the World Series.
Out of desperation, they made mistakes.
Yeah, I mean...
So let me ask y'all this question. I sat here and watched y'all, wax poetic about Tito and give him his flowers, just deserved, right? But how big of a travesty is it if you got the best manager and you ain't give him no ingredients? Like, you got the best manager, but he dealing with young players every year. What could
not every year, but the last couple of years,
what could he do? What could Tito do if he had the Dusty Baker roster.
Well, he got you to Game 7 of the World Series and
Yeah.
came within a range.
Well,
of
their
winning
roster,
it.
their payroll was higher then.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It still wasn't in the top half.
If you just gave him,
No.
if you gave him a top 15 payroll,
They
could
were
he do?
probably around the middle of the pack
They
at
had
that point.
they had everything they needed that year.
They did.
They
And-
actually
and
had
the
a higher
following year.
payroll the next year or two after.
Healthy pitching is manager can't do anything about that.
Right.
Although sometimes pitchers lose health because they're overridden.
But a guy getting hurt in September or October, nothing the organization, you can't do anything about it at that point.
Yeah.
It's just dumb luck. I
2016,
think Tito's-
2017, they had everything they needed.
I think to an extent, Tito's a victim of his own success here because he's done so well with so little that if you're spending the money and you're writing the checks, you're saying, hey, this guy is the difference maker. He's the cheat code.
Yeah.
We
Now-
don't have to be in the top half of
Well,
payroll.
You said
Guys,
payroll.
right now, they
Payroll's
are
24th?
They're 26th right now in
They're
payroll.
24th in 2016.
No, going into
Oh,
this
in
year, I believe-
2016 they were 24th?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were way down the line.
Where were they in 2017 and 18? Because they had higher
added,
payrolls.
yeah,
than
they
That's
were
when
us.
they
up
added
more
Edwin.
towards the middle, but I still think in the lower
Yeah.
half.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Check out 17 or 18. I'm surprised. I thought they were higher than 24th and 16.
No.
But let's not say done something with nothing. They had good teams. Those were really
You
good
know, what
teams.
I'm saying is, the something in this equation is money. The
yeah, all right.
Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, they just buy their way into contention. That's it. That's if you've got the money,
They were 18th in 2017. So right in
still
the middle
lower
there.
half.
But still,
they were
yeah,
lower half.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring it up is I
Yeah.
think that if Tito's the cheat code, and go figure this out, over the last 10 years, no organization has more wins. Their cost per win is the lowest in baseball.
I would say Tampa's probably first.
Nope. I did this because
Sure?
you always say that the Rays are the same way. They are, but the Rays have always, not always, just about always outspent the Guardians, where the Guardians on wins have more wins than the Rays over the last decade.
I don't think.
And they've had more
I don't
payroll.
think you're
Where are
right,
the Rays
Jay.
right now in payroll?
Right now,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I
second
would
last
bet
or
you
last.
16, 17, 18, 19. The
So,
Guardians had a way higher payroll.
Here's something
than the
that's
Rays.
fascinating. Yesterday, the odds came out from one casino. I'm sure
They're 27th, by the way.
Okay.
And the Guardians are 25th.
Right. So they're right
Where
there.
were the Rays in payroll from 16 through 18? I bet they were way behind the Indians then.
The Indians were 24th. I mean,
No, but they were 18th and 15th in 17 and 18.
yes.
Whereas the Rays never get above 25 ever.
No, they have been. They have been
They
over
have?
25, yeah.
They've never.
They gave Snell that monster deal.
Yeah, they did give some big deals
They
out.
traded him.
Right.
Yeah, but they
still
gave
had
him the
for a
deal. I
couple
mean, that
years.
went
It
on
wasn't a
In
monster.
2016,
Well, for
they
them it
were 29th.
Yeah.
2016.
Where were they in 17?
17?
I bet you the last decade the Rays have spent less on payroll than the Guardians.
28th
I would,
in 17.
yeah.
Do it cost per win. That's the apples to apples comparison.
Okay.
Cost per win.
Yeah.
Because you could spend a little bit of money and not win. The Rays and Guardians and Indians, they haven't done that. They've spent a little bit of money, but they've won.
Right.
Fascinating yesterday. The odds came out for the season to win the division, the AFC, the American League Central. And when you look at the odds, the Guardians have the best odds by a little bit over the White
Over
Sox.
the White Sox.
The White Sox are spending $2 for every one that the
Right.
Guardians are spending. The Royals are 4,000 to 1. Their payroll is more than the Guardians.
They're, Since John Sherman got there, they're spending money.
They're spending money, but
not
they're
all
not
of it's
winning.
wise. Not all of it's wise. They
No,
gave Carlos Santana.
That's
a big
why I
deal.
think it's the
But their
perfect
payroll's
blend
not
of-
that high either, is it?
higher than the Guardians.
No, but it's still not high.
Right, but I mean, it's
No, but one of the things you didn't factor into the Rays Guardians debate is the Rays play in a much tougher division.
much tougher. Yeah.
So the fact that even if they're close in wins, I would give that as an edge to the Rays because now the schedule changes, but you're still playing more.
Moving forward, it's going to be equal.
It's still not equal because
No,
you're
but
still
it's-
playing
it's
more.
not as 19 games in your division.
But they've had to play the Yankees, the Blue Jays
Yeah.
until the last year or two, the Red Sox. So that's it. But
and the Orioles.
the Rays and the
are easy
Guardians do it better
They do.
than anybody else.
Their model, and I think that Tito is kind of a victim of his own success in that the front office can make an excuse not to overspend or not to spend all this money because Tito's always going to be the safety net. If he's going to win 90 games on a team that's 25th in payroll and be one game from making it to the ALCS, as long as
that's
that's
not
working,
on the
they're
front
not gonna
office.
change
That's
it.
the owner, right? The
Owner.
owner
100%.
doesn't. The owner does not spend enough money. The payroll
He does not.
is too low. It's ridiculous how low the payroll is.
I agree.
The Guardians are able to win in spite of that.
Yep.
It's not just Tito. The Guardians have arguably the best front office in baseball.
I think they do have.
Along with Tampa
do you
Bay.
agree with that, Jay?
Tampa and Cleveland.
I think they're 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I really do.
I actually think, despite their payroll, the Dodgers belong in that conversation too, because they have.
See, I don't.
They have too many cheat codes.
I
They lose
do
points.
too.
They
You
could be
can-
the smartest guys in the room.
When you can write $30 million annual checks to 5 different players, that
now,
does,
to Bull's point, the Dodgers
They have
farm system,
consistently had a great farm system.
their farm
since
system
this-
is
farm
sensational.
system is great. They've upgraded their farm system, but what I'm saying is the amount of money they've spent and the hardware that they have to show for it is incriminating.
But they can also draft and identify talent and develop the
You
talent.
can't just disregard them totally because they have a large
all
payroll.
No, but-
they have a good front office. You want to argue that the Guardians front office has done more with less money? Sure, I'm going to give them the edge.
Yeah.
But the Dodgers front office is excellent. They do a great job.
How many World Series has this
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've had the leading payroll just about every year. That's an indictment to me. I'm sorry, it is.
I don't
for
agree
me,
with that.
For me, I just give me the ring. I don't care how you got it. I don't
Okay,
care
they
if you-
still got one. The Guardians don't have any.
Yeah, that's all I
well,
want.
okay, you're right, but for all of the money
you
the
know
Guardians
as well
have
as
spent,
anybody that once you get to the playoffs, it's a crapshoot.
Right, it is a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot. No matter what kind of team you put together, there's no guarantee.
I think in all the sports,
yeah.
the best team is least likely to win the championship
Yeah.
is baseball, and it's really hockey sometimes because you can ride a hot goalie. But
How
for the
many
most
times
part,
in the last decade has the best team won, right? I mean, I think the Astros were the best team
I think
last
they
year,
were, too.
but it might have been the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The Cubs were the best team in 16.
I mean,
A lot of these
the,
other
the,
years-
the Nationals won.
They had
well,
a losing.
the Braves
The
won
Braves were the
Braves-
Braves were sub 500.
in
Yeah.
August.
Yeah.
You know what's fascinating to me when we talk about this and payroll and the Dolans and everything? How much different is the image of the Dolans if the Indians win it in 2016?
Oh my God.
Much.
Totally different.
And what?
Or yeah.
And they supplied that team with everything they needed. They made the trade they made the move at the
did.
deadline. Gave them Andrew Miller. It was the weapon that they needed.
Yeah.
And like they did everything they could. And if it doesn't rain, I mean, I think they win it if it doesn't rain.
I
If they
agree.
don't have the rain
Who
delay.
knows? That's irrelevant.
It's not
No, it's
irrelevant.
not irrelevant.
But it's impossible to prove.
Yeah.
But they were right there on the precipice. And how much different do people in this town view them when they didn't do anything different? You know what I mean?
or in 17, where they actually had a better team.
Well, listen, what the people want
That
is
was the Bauer.
you
right?
did
Was
it in
that
16.
17?
You were close. You paid more in 17. Okay, you didn't go where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
People don't give a you know what about none of that. They don't
Right.
care how fiscally responsible you are. People in this country.
Yeah, look at the Cavs and what they had to spend to get that ring. We don't care.
We don't care about your bank account.
It's not
and
our
if,
money.
And if your wife can buy furs forever, we care if you buying players or not. If
Yeah.
you're not, if you do well and you don't have players, good for you.
Who's
if
the
you win.
best ownership in Cleveland?
Dolans.
And I mean, now
Dolans.
you could say, well, the Cavs have one, but obviously it was LeBron driven, but he spent the money.
He spent the money.
He spent the money, so
I
he
was
does get
told-
kudos for that. But if I'm picking a ownership group, it's the Dolans, and unfortunately, I think they're the one. They get more criticism than the Haslam's do.
Totally agree.
How
totally
in the
agree.
hell is that?
I'm separate.
I don't think they get more criticism than
I do.
Haslam's.
On social,
It's close.
They get more criticism than Gilbert, and I think G would argue that he would take Gilbert because he won.
I'm taking Gilbert.
yeah, Gilbert won. He gets credit for that.
He
but
gonna
I
spin
just
that
think
bag.
Dolan has put together an organization that is sustainable
Yes.
over time.
Mike Chernoff had a chance to go be the GM of his hometown childhood
Yeah,
team
you're right.
with unlimited payroll, and he said, "I'm good where I'm at."
Which is amazing.
How often does that happen?
I know.
That
I don't
is
know.
a more of a credit.
And there is
That's
a
crazy.
lot of hate in this town for the Dolan
I-
family, and I don't get.
I
I
think-
wish they'd spend more too.
I think if you ask me who would I want to work for, it would definitely be Dolan over the other two guys.
Yeah.
I think most people would say that.
No,
It's
no,
a stable organization.
But that's a different question. I'm
It's
just
a
talking about which ownership group gets more criticism.
Dolan gets more criticism than he should, but in the end, he doesn't spend enough money, and that's a big deal. And he deserves a lot of criticism for that.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
He needs to spend more money.
But he's not going to do that.
But it is what it is. They're a low market team, and I think their operation, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not saying they're scrapping to make payroll, but this guy doesn't have an unlimited funds bank account that he can just reach into like the
Yeah,
Dodgers
then sell
or
the team
Yankees.
if he can't afford it.
Well, that's a different issue.
know, I mean,
that's a
and
different
and
issue.
they're working on it.
And
that's
it's,
in the
it's
process.
probably not going to be his 8 years from now.
The thing you give Nolan credit for is that he has hired good people and he leaves them alone with as long as the money's not involved to make those decisions, which is important.
Which is why the Cavs inadvertently are trending toward that because they have unlimited spending or close to it.
But essentially,
without
you could
the
argue
interference of
that
ownership.
the Guardians have won in spite of him because they have such great people that make the
But those great people are there because
you got to
of
credit him for that.
Those great people are there because of him.
Yeah, he didn't luck into these hires.
Okay, but
if Dan Gilbert 2016 buys the Indians, Chris Antonetti's gone, Mike Chernoff is gone, and Terry Francona.
And where are they now?
They are not dealing with.
They
are
and LeBron
not
can't
putting
play
up with it.
baseball.
Forget about 26.
Yeah.
If Dan Gilbert bought the Guardians today, everybody would be happy.
As long as he said, I'm just here to be a paycheck.
But I'm telling you.
I'm writing checks.
Well, look,
everybody else keep doing what you're doing.
He just said he's a paycheck writer for the Cavs now. So I'm sure if you don't know.
Dan today is not the Dan of 6-7 years
because of the
ago.
stroke?
Yes.
Well, there we go. If he bought the team today, the Guardians, in my opinion, would now become a top flight team.
what about the Suns there? Are they messing around?
No, they're not messing around. I actually really like Grant Gilbert is the one who's going to be the heir to the throne. We did a big story on him last year. But he's young. He's like 20.
He's not trying to get involved with decisions.
Ridiculous.
I think Grant is going about it the right way. I think Grant is trying to learn the different departments, and he's trying. I mean, this is whether he wants it or not. If Dan was going to sell the team, he would have sold it when he took Quicken public.
That's true.
When he sold off the casinos, Dan restructured a lot financially after the stroke, but he kept the Cavs. That tells me this is going to be in the Gilbert family for a long time.
His son loves it, right?
Listen,
and Grant
worked hard to get that position with the Cavs.
Well, Grant, I think, is going about it the right way because I've talked to a lot of people in that organization, talked about him, who all say he's not this bratty kid of a billionaire that you would think.
Good.
He's a really good guy who's trying to learn the business and trying to learn the right way to do it. So I actually think it's a really good thing. Yes, he's very, very young. He's got a lot to learn. But I think he's going about it the right way. He just graduated college in the last 2 years.
Hey, McNuggets.
He's really young. But he's going about it the right way.
I want to ask, we ain't got no time in there. I want to ask him a question because he's here about this story with LeBron's son now being top 10. Does that change
did you see that yesterday?
Yeah, I put that up. I think I like Javoni a lot, the Draft Express guy who did that. He's not top 10. He's improved his stock quite a bit this year.
But he's not a top 10 NBA pick.
He's not top 10.
So is it
But
enough?
we're also still a year away from
Is it enough of a move that he does say, all right, well, I'm going to enter my name in the draft?
Oh, I think he's coming regardless.
Well, I mean, he doesn't.
Well, he's got to go to
can't-
college for 1 year.
They
They haven't changed the rule yet.
They haven't changed it.
Okay,
No.
never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, he's still got to go to college. For
And I think after a year in college, he may be a top 10.
And he might, because
But
we're
he's
still
not
so
now.
far away from that. But he's not very big. He's not as big as his dad. That's going to hurt him. I don't think he's going to grow anymore. And I still think Rich Paul is going to control this whole thing. That's how powerful he is.
Sure,
if he can get Anthony Davis out of New Orleans and hand deliver him to the Lakers, he can dictate where Bronny goes.
I was listening for a couple of minutes on, I was actually listening to Fox Sports Radio. I have no idea why, 'cause I've never listened to it. But I was flicking through the channels. There was nothing else on. And they had Rick Bucher on with, what's her name, that used to be on Colin Cowherd's show. She has her own show now.
Yeah, Joy.
Joy Taylor.
Taylor, yeah.
And she was embarrassingly like they haven't gotten LeBron what he needs, and he was like, yeah, LeBron controlled the whole thing there.
Oh, with Westbrook?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, if they haven't gotten him what he needs,
He was like, no, you're wrong. LeBron put himself in
Mikey,
that
go ahead.